Right.
See what they're responding to. Because he said, if so, how does he pay compensation for miscarried offspring? I.e., how is their value assessed? I hope we're talking about cows still.
I suddenly don't think we are because I said the woman. Uh-oh.
Oh no. Wait
Oh
a
no.
what?
No, how did this happen?
In the case of an ox that was intending to gore another ox, but it struck a pregnant
Stuck
woman
a
and
rhino.
her offspring. Wow, they think of everything. The fetuses emerged due to miscarriage. The owner of the ox is exempt from paying compensation for miscarried offspring. But in the case of a person who was intending to injure another but struck a pregnant woman instead, and
I've
her
heard
offspring emerged due to miscarriage, he pays compensation for miscarried offspring.
this is true. I recall this. Yes.
So, how does he pay compensation for miscarried offspring? How is their value assessed? The court appraises the value of the woman by calculating how much she would be worth if
No.
sold as a maidservant before giving birth, and how much she would be worth after giving birth. He then pays a difference in value to the woman's husband. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel said,
Oh, this is very bad. If so, the consequences would be absurd. Thank you. As when a woman gives birth, her value increases. Oh, shit.
that makes me think actually, because there's a book, The Clan of the Cave Bear, that series where they do talk about like, oh, this woman has had multiple children. That means she can have children, and that makes her more valuable. That like it's a book about like cave people.
Oh, no. I don't love it, being
I
honest.
think there's something about that though in like Native American tribes though too, like a woman having children and being able to have more children that makes them a more valuable bride.
Awesome. Rather, the court appraises how much the offspring are worth, and the one liable for the damage gives the amount to the husband. And if she does not have a husband, her husband died, he gives the money to his heirs.
The husband's theirs. If the
Uh,
pregnant woman was a Canaanite maidservant and then she was emancipated or a convert, and she was married to an emancipated Canaanite slave or to a convert who died without any heirs, the one who caused the damage is exempt from paying compensation for miscarried offspring because they're worth nothing, apparently. This is because this payment is made specifically to the husband, not to the woman. This is not a win for the woman. It's never to the woman, it's only to the husband.
this isn't a win for the woman. This isn't the win for a husband. This isn't a win for the Talmud.
Or
This is
like
just
human in general, yeah, humanity.
Gemara. The first clause of the Mishnah indicates that the reason the owner is exempt from paying compensation for the offspring when an ox unintentionally gores a pregnant woman is specifically that it was intending to gore another ox. By inference, if it was intending to gore the woman, the owner pays compensation for miscarried offspring. Shall we say that this should be a conclusive refutation of the opinion of Rav Adabar Ahava, as Rav Adabar Ahava says, with regard to the ox that intended to gore a woman and then did so, the owners are exempt from paying compensation for the miscarried offspring.
So yes, people are like when did they we already decided when it comes to an ox's offspring that we don't have
We're
to
just
pay?
deciding if this is a refutation of Rob Adabar Ahava's position or not.
Oh, but I wonder what they said about oxen if we passed that point, besides a woman and a human fetus. The Gemara answers that Rav Ada bar Ahava could have said to you, the same is true, that even if the oxen intended to gore the woman, the owners are also exempt from paying compensation for miscarried offspring. As for that which is taught in the Mishnah, an ox that was intending to gore another ox, it is taught this way, since it wants to teach the latter clause, a person that was intending to injure another person, as this case is written explicitly in the verse, and if men struggle and hurt a pregnant woman and her offspring emerge. Wow, I don't remember that at all from Exodus.
Oh, it's definitely in there. It's a huge, huge thing because it's not treated as like its own life. It's treated as like part of the woman's body, and this is why
Oh, it's one
people
of
are
the
able to say that like
reasonings. Okay. In the case in the verse, the assailant intended to injure another person. Apparently, only men are persons, but injured the woman instead. Therefore, the Mishnah also teaches the first clause in that style, an ox that was intending to gore another ox.
you know what's worse? Go back up because so
In the Hebrew.
all of the bold is exactly in the Hebrew.
Yeah.
But, which means that this is somebody's translation of this is in the case of the verse, the assailant.
Oh,
That's like somebody else's interpretation. So that's like a modern interpretation. But I think what they're trying to say was to injure a different person, not
yeah,
another person.
yeah.
But still, that's bad.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I'll forgive our ancestors for doing bad stuff, but like that's a modern
The
person.
translator. Thanks, Safaria.
Rav Papa says, in the case of an ox that gored a Canaanite maidservant and her offspring emerged due to a miscarriage, the owner pays compensation for the miscarried offspring. What is the reason? The ox injured a what? What is the reason the ox injured a mere pregnant donkey? With regard, what?
Why is it suddenly a donkey, not a human?
I think they're trying to say that the Canaanite maidservant is a donkey, and
Oh,
they're really angry.
oh my God.
I really hope that's not what they're saying. With regard to the matter of compensation for offspring, who would have been the property of the master, yes, this is exactly what they're saying. They're saying that the same halacha applies. Who would be the property of the master they were born to? A Canaanite slave is considered the property of the master, and as the verse states, that Abraham addressed Eliezer. Okay, so they're not saying she's a donkey. They're saying she's in the category of donkey,
Uh-huh.
which isn't
Which you might as well say the same thing.
which isn't better, but at least we know that they're saying like, oh, a dog is in the category of pit instead of the category of ox.
Yeah.
All right. As the verse states, that Abraham addressed Eliezer, who was a Canaanite, by saying, "You remain here with
You
the donkey," on which on which the sages expound that he was alluding to the idea that Eliezer is, oh no, is of a people that is similar to a donkey.
why would he
Therefore, this is just being racist. This is literally just and racism.
no,
Therefore,
it's because he wanted to go up the mountain alone with Isaac. Like, why do you take that to mean that like this is conclusive proof that Eliezer is the same as the donkey?
because they're being racist. Therefore, the case of an ox goring a Canaanite maidservant is not included in the Torah's exemption from paying compensation for a miscarried offspring. I hate this.
Wow.
Where I'm objectively confronted with the sages saying something that's
I
heinous.
know, and it's just amazing. The Mishnah teaches, how does he pay compensation for miscarried offspring? The court appraises how much the value of the woman increased due to the offspring. The Gemara asks, would this be a correct interpretation of the term compensation for miscarried offspring? If this is how the sum is calculated, the Mishnah should have stated, how does he pay the increase in value due to the offspring? The Gemara answers, that is also what the Tana is saying. How does he pay compensation for miscarried offspring and the increase in value due to the offspring? In other words, apart from evaluating the compensation for the miscarried offspring, the court also appraises the value of the woman by calculating how much she would be worth if sold as a maidservant before giving birth and how much she would be worth after giving birth. Wait, oh,
Yeah.
it should be the Mishnah. It's missing a T.
Mishnah teaches. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel said, if so, the consequences would be absurd. As when a woman gives birth, her value increases. The Gemara asks, what is Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel saying? Rabbah said, this is what he is saying. But is the monetary value of a woman higher before she gives birth than after she gives birth? But isn't the opposite true, that the monetary value of a woman is higher after giving birth than before giving birth, since the concern for her dying during childbirth, which lowers her monetary value prior to giving birth, is no longer a concern. Rather, the court appraises the value of the fetuses and gives that amount to the husband, which
You
basically
can
means that,
still
like,
die even after a second or third child.
no, because she's strong enough to withstand one, so she should be strong enough to withstand all of them. I hate,
Court
I hate
appraises the
this.
value of the fetuses.
I'm not having a good time with this one.
So like each fetus is worth a certain amount, I guess, because it's like the first child, the second child, third child.
Yeah.
This explanation of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel's statement is also taught in a Baraita. But is the monetary value of a woman higher before she gives birth than after she gives birth? But isn't the opposite true, that the monetary value of a woman is higher after giving birth than before giving birth? Why are they still arguing about this? Rather, the court appraises the value of the fetuses and gives that amount to the husband. So they just, I mean, so they're backing it up with a Baraita, I guess.
Rabbi said, this is what Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel is teaching. But is the value of the woman higher only for one whom she gives birth, i.e., her husband, and she herself does not have an increase of value at all due to the offspring? A pregnant woman's monetary value is increased on account of her pregnancy beyond the monetary value of the offspring. Rather, the court appraises that the value of the offspring and gives it to the husband, and in addition, the husband and the wife divide the increase in her value due to her offspring. Okay, this is a win for the woman.
A
She
little
gets
bit, yeah. At least she got some value, sort of.
this is kind of a win for the woman.
This explanation of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel's opinion is also taught in a Baraita. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel said, But is the value of the woman higher only for the one for whom she gives birth, i.e., her husband, and she does not have any increase in value at all due to the offspring? Rather, the court appraises damage by itself and pain by itself, and appraises the value of the offspring and gives it to the husband, and the husband and wife divide the increase in her value due to the offspring. I like that pain has a value.
Cool. Yes, the Gemara asks the opinion of Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel in the first Baraita that the woman's value decreases because of the pregnancy poses a difficulty for that of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel in the second Baraita that it increases. Right, that is a
Well, they never contradicted themselves. Wait, what? In the first Baraita, they were always saying it increased after pregnancy.
Wait, did Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel in the first Baraita say that the woman's value decreases? I thought he did.
Did he? I don't know. I've already forgotten. The Gemara answers, this is not difficult, since each Baraita is referring to a different case. Here, the first Baraita, which stated that the woman's value increases after giving birth, is referring to a woman giving birth to her firstborn. Her value decreases prior to birth out of concern that she might die in childbirth. There, the second Baraita, which stated that her value increases due to pregnancy, is referring to a woman who is not giving birth to her firstborn. Okay, so she's always increasing in value for having children, though.
Yes.
I think, yeah.
The Gemara asks, and what is the reason of the rabbis in this second Baraita who say the increase in her value due to the offspring is also given to the husband? The Gemara answers they derive it from the redundancy in the verse, as we learned in a Baraita. The verse states, and hurt a pregnant woman and her offspring emerge. From the fact that it stated and her offspring emerge, don't I know by inference that she was pregnant? If so, what is the meaning when the verse states a pregnant woman and not just a woman? To inform you that even the increase in her value due to the pregnancy is given to the husband. I don't buy that.
What if she doesn't have a husband?
Buy that. I don't buy that. I do not buy that because they said a pregnant woman and her offspring emerges that she gets double. I don't buy that. That's crazy. That is what we call a stretch.
This is the patriarchy at its finest. The Gemara asks, and what halakha does Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel expound on this extra word pregnant? The Gemara answers, he requires it for that which is taught in a Baraita. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says that one who injures a woman is never liable to pay compensation for miscarried offspring unless he strikes her opposite the womb, i.e. on the abdomen. Never liable to pay compensation. You hit her on the shoulder and somehow she miscarried and you don't have to pay.
Yeah, because you didn't cause the miscarriage. Okay.
She did. It's all Freudian stuff. Rav Papa said, do not say that it must be literally opposite the womb. Rather, he is liable if she was struck anywhere that the wound's impact could reach the offspring, i.e. any part of the torso, to exclude a wound to her hand or foot, for which he is not liable, since it could be argued that it was not the wound to the hand or foot that caused the miscarriage.
The Mishnah teaches if a pregnant woman was a maidservant and she was emancipated or a convert, he is exempt from the payment of damages for miscarried offspring. Rabbah says they taught this halakha only in the case where one injured her during the lifetime of the convert, i.e., her husband, and the convert died before the payment was given. The reason for this is that since the assailant injured her during the lifetime of the convert acquires the money, although it is still in the possession of one liable for the damage. And once the convert dies without heirs, the money is ownerless. Therefore, the assailant acquires it of the convert. There's some rule about giving money to a convert. Therefore, the assailant acquires it from the convert, since anyone who can assume ownership of ownerless property, the assailant who already possesses the money becomes the owner. But if he injured her after the convert has died, she acquires the money and he must pay the woman herself.
Good, yay.
That's a win for the woman.
I'm like, what? Why? I can't believe the money would go back to the person that injured her. It sounds like that's what they're saying, unless the convert died. If he injured her after the convert had died, okay. But so if the convert is still alive, the money goes to the convert. And if the convert is dead, then the money goes to her. Okay, so good. Look, I like they have question exclamation. And then Rauchista said in amazement, Master of this ruling, is that to say that compensation for the offspring is like bundles of money and she acquires them when her husband dies? I hope so.
Exclamation point.
Rabba seems to understand that the pregnant woman assumes ownership of the offspring by virtue of being in possession of them when the husband dies. and therefore has the right to compensation for them. That is not the case. Rather, if the husband is present, the merciful one grants compensation for the offspring to him, but if the husband is not alive, the Torah does not grant compensation to anyone else.
No, don't take away her win.
I know, what?
Mara raises an objection against the opinion
What?
of Rama from the following. If the assailant struck the woman and her offspring emerged due to miscarriage, he gives compensation for the damage and pain to the woman and compensation for the miscarried offspring to the husband. If the husband is not alive, he gives compensation to the offspring to his heirs, the husband's heirs. If the woman is not alive, he gives payment owed to her heirs. If she was a maidservant and then she was emancipated or a convert, the assailant acquires the money. This indicates that if the husband is no longer alive, the woman doesn't receive anything. It took it
But she
away.
does receive. Okay, well, if she's dead, at least she has heirs. That's nice.
Yeah, she if her heirs get it.
Yeah, but it looks like she's never getting it no matter what. The sages said in response to this, but is the Baraita preferable to the Mishnah, which we interpreted as a referring, I don't think that A is meant to be there, as referring to a case where he injured her during the lifetime of the convert and the convert then died. Here also it must be explained that he injured her during the lifetime of the convert and the convert then died. And if you wish, say instead that he injured her even after the death of the convert.
And the expression in the Baraita, he acquires, referring to the one who caused the damage. Teach, she acquires.
And teach, she acquires. The Gemara suggests, let us say that the dispute between Rabba and Rav Chisda is parallel to a dispute between Tanaim. With regard to a Jewish woman who was married to a convert and she became pregnant from him and someone injured her, causing her to miscarry. If this was during the lifetime of the convert, the assailant gives compensation for miscarried offspring to the convert, i.e., her husband. If this was after the death of the convert, it is taught in one Baraita that the assailant is liable, and it is taught in one Baraita that the assailant is exempt. What? Is it not a dispute between Tanaim? The Gemara clarifies, according to the opinion of Rabbah, it is certainly a dispute between Tanaim. His opinion does not accord with the second Baraita. But according to the opinion of Rav Chisda, shall we say that it is a dispute between Tanaim?
Okay, this is not necessarily so, as Rav Chisda could say to both Baraitot are in accordance with his opinion. As for the difference between them, that is not difficult. They can be explained. I like it when they say that it is
Yeah.
not difficult. They're like, it's not a problem. No problem.
Let
They
me
can
tell you all about it.
they can be explained as referring to the increase in the woman's value due to the offspring, which is subject to dispute in the Mishnah, rather than referring to the payment of compensation for the miscarried offspring. This Baraita, which taught that he is exempt, is in accordance with the opinion of the rabbis who maintain that the increase in her value on account of the offspring belongs to the husband. That Baraita, which taught that he is liable, is in accordance with the opinion of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, who maintains that the woman has a share in her increase in value due to pregnancy. And this is paid even if the incident occurred after the husband's death.
Okay, so they still have they're saying is what belongs to whose opinion, but they still haven't really answered the
Yeah.
question. If
But like, it's not difficult. This is this person's opinion, and this is this person's
yeah,
opinion.
but still, like, is this person liable or not? The assailant, are they going to get money or not?
Right.
The Gemara asks, if it is in accordance with the opinion of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, why state specifically that it occurs after the death of the husband? Even during the husband's lifetime, she also has a half share, as explained earlier in the discussion. The Gemara answers, while he is alive, she has a half share, but after his death, all of it belongs to her.
Cool. And if you wish, say instead that both this Baraita and that Baraita are in accordance with the opinion of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, but they refer to different payments. Here, the Baraita taught that he is liable is referring to the increase in her value to the offspring, which belongs partly to the woman, and if the husband dies, she acquires the rights to all of it. By contrast, there, the Baraita that taught that he is exempt is referring to compensation for a miscarried offspring, which belongs exclusively to her husband, since he is a convert. The one liable for damage is, since he's a convert, the one liable for damage is exempt after his death.
Because he's a convert and he's not worth paying. But apparently the woman still gets it from the one paragraph above.
Yeah.
The sages said, in questioning this answer, why is there a difference between the two cases? From the halacha that after the husband's death, the woman acquires his share of the increase in her value due to the offspring, Let it be derived that according to the opinion of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, she also acquires the rights to the compensation for miscarried offspring if she was wounded after his death. Moreover, from the opinion of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, let us derive that this is also the opinion of the rabbis, since there is no dispute between them with regard to the payment of compensation for miscarried offspring. So the rabbis don't care. It's just these other sages, I guess, that we're arguing about.
Yeah, in response, the sages said, no, first assumption is untenable, since with regard to the increase in her value due to the offspring in which she has a share from the outset, she acquires all of it after her husband's death. By contrast, with regard to the compensation for the miscarried offspring in which she does not have a share from the outset, she does not acquire the rights to it at all, since she had no greater claim to this than any other individual does. Like she
Wait,
has a claim,
she
so
she
she has
did.
a claim to her own worth as an increased as it being increased as a pregnant woman, but she doesn't have a claim to her offspring. The offspring are not hers; they're her husband's.
Oh, I guess you can argue that. I can see
I
that.
I hate it.
Like, yeah, they belong to both of them, but Rav Ya'iva, the elder, raises a dilemma to Rav Nachman. With regard to one who takes possession of the documents of a convert, what is the halacha after the death of the convert? On the one hand, it can be argued that one who takes possession of the documents takes possession with the intention of acquiring the land. Oh, so we're totally changing the subject.
Yeah.
That the document states is under lien. And since he did not take possession of the land itself, he also does not acquire the document. This is because he had no intention to acquire the document, but just the property specified in the document. Okay, you can't just get property without having like the paper to go with it. Therefore, since the convert has died, perhaps the lien is cancelled and can no longer be collected, or perhaps his intention is also to acquire the document, and the paper on which it is written belongs to him, but he's dead, so he doesn't have any intention.
Rav Nachman said to him, "Answer this, my master. Does he need to acquire the document to use the paper to cover the opening of his flask? What?
What?
Why would he want the document if it does not grant him ownership of the land described therein?" Rav Yeva the elder said to him, "Indeed, his intention is to cover the flask and to cover it with a paper, albeit a mundane purpose." There's something here. There's some joke here that I'm not getting.
What do
Cover
you
the
see in the
opening of his
Hebrew? Like,
flask.
do you know anything about the word flask?
No.
Okay. Indeed, his intention is even to cover the flask and to cover it with the paper, albeit. Rabbah says, in a case where the collateral of a Jew was in the possession of a convert who lent him money and the convert died, and another Jew came and took possession of it, then, since the convert has no heirs, the court appropriates it from his possession and returns it to its owner. What is the reason? Since the convert died, his lien on the property is abrogated. Okay, therefore the deposit automatically returns to its owner and no one else has the right to take it.
By contrast, if the collateral of a convert is in the possession of a Jew who lent him money and the convert died and another Jew came into possession of it, this one, the one owed money, acquires a share of the collateral corresponding to the money owed to him by the convert, and that one, the one who took possession of it, acquires the rest.
Okay, that's fair. The Gemara asks, but why doesn't the creditor acquire the entire collateral? If it is in his possession, let his courtyard effect acquisition for him, as doesn't Rabbi Yosei Bar Chanina say a person's courtyard affects acquisition for him even without his knowledge?
The sages said in response, "Here we are dealing with a case where the creditor is not standing next to the courtyard, anywhere that he is present next to the collateral, so that if he wants to acquire it, he could pick it up and acquire it himself. His courtyard also affects acquisition for him, but anywhere that he is not present next to the collateral, so that if he wants to acquire it, he could not acquire it. His courtyard also does not affect acquisition for him." I don't get it.
I can guess all I can think of is like if somebody's ball, like kids throw a ball into your yard, it's now your ball. That's all I can think about as far as the courtyard affecting acquisition.
Situation. Okay, maybe.
But like if you're not, what is it? So if you're not anywhere near the thing, so if he wants to acquire it, he could not because he's not present. His courtyard also, so he's not near the ball. So if the kids came back over the fence to get the ball and got it before you knew it was there, then it's still their ball, I guess. The Gemara concludes, and the halacha is that where the creditor is not present in his courtyard, he does not acquire the rest of the collateral. It's the ball. It's the kid throwing the ball over the fence.
Yes. Mishnah. One who digs part of a pit on private property and opens its entrance to the public domain, or digs the pit in public domain and opens its entrance on private property, or digs a pit on private property and opens its entrance on another person's private property, is liable for the damage caused by the pit in each case.
Good, because you built it. The Gemara taught in a Gemara. The sages taught in a Baraita. One who digs a pit on private property and opens its entrance in the public domain, or who digs a pit in the public domain and opens its entrance on private property, is liable. And this is the case of pit that is stated in the Torah. This is the statement of Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Akiva says, with regard to one who renounced ownership of his property but did not renounce ownership of his pit located in the property, this is the case of pit that is stated in the Torah.
Okay.
So I gave up all my land to you, except that pit, that's still mine.
In explanation of this dispute, Rava said, with regard to a pit that a person digs or opens into the public domain, everyone agrees that he is liable for the damage that should occur as a result. What is the reason? The verse states, and if a man shall open a pit, and it also states, if a man shall dig a pit, which raises the question, if one is liable for opening a pit by removing the cover of the pit that has already been dug, then is it not all the more so obvious that he should be liable for digging a new pit? What then does the latter phrase add? Rather, the interpretation of the verse must be responsibility for the pit comes to him by engaging in the opening the pit and by engaging in the digging the pit. Although he does not own the area itself, he is liable for creating a public hazard. They disagree only. We will find out tomorrow.
Yeah. They are so funny. Like, he just started digging something, so yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Like, I don't know, you're gonna do something out in the public, like, I don't know, some kind of fire display, and like you burn people.
You're responsible.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But thank you for studying with us. Bye.